Despite losing top-end talent, Ohio State is still on a different level.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Feel Good Friday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Jay Stevens, Veteran Sports Talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And today's episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. During today's show, we'll discuss if Ohio State has championship potential in 2025, as well as some of the team's strengths and weaknesses. But first, Ohio State had 14 guys get drafted into the National Football League, and there are 3 other guys that had their names entered into the draft that were signed to be undrafted free agents. That is 17 total guys off of a national championship winning team that are off to the National Football League. And in a lot of places around the country, when they were to hear those numbers and hear about the scenario going on right now in Columbus, they would be a little nervous. They would be shaking in their boots and trying to figure out, how do we overcome these massive losses? But at Ohio State, while they're trying to figure out how they're going to overcome the massive losses, they're also realizing they got some dudes in that locker room. They got some guys that are ready to take massive steps forward to fill the shoes of a Seth McLaughlin, a Josh Simmons, a Donovan Jackson, and others. And they're ready for the task at hand because Ohio State is built different. And everybody in the country is going to be reminded that Ohio State is built different when they step on the field week 1 against Texas. And trust me, that's a massive gain to open up with. And we were saying the same thing a couple years ago in 2022 when Ohio State opened up against Notre Dame week 1. That game was also in the shoe. And what do we remember about that game? Ohio State opened up in that game. It was a battle. It was a lower scoring game. But what did they do? They used some players that were unsung heroes, guys that you really didn't know about, to make big plays. I remember that day. I was in, I believe, Parma, Ohio. My friend Sarah and her husband Nate had a bunch of people over for a party, not Super Bowl party, just a watch party basically. And I made the trip over there. My wife was with me on this trip, and we were over there watching the game. And in my head, I'm realizing I got a live show after the game. So while we're there watching the game, I'm taking more mental notes than normal. Because not only did I have a live show, I think I may have done a different show with Locked On Buckeyes. I forget. I know we did one with the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and they were doing some Ohio State stuff after games. And I remember that day, Ohio State opening up against Notre Dame. I don't believe that ever happened in my lifetime. And if it did, I wasn't a big-time early Ohio State fan in general. But in that day, you saw Ohio State use a Xavier Johnson, call up on some guys, make key defensive stops. And that was a great way to build confidence at the beginning of that year. That's going to be the same thing this year when Texas comes to Ohio to take over the shoe, just like Tennessee did. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do it, but that's their goal. That's their mindset. They want to take over the shoe. And while they want to take over the shoe, that's great. It sounds good. And when you hear it, if you're a Longhorns fan, not to Buckeyes fans, not to the players on the team. Because what do they have? Ownership of their house. And you're going to find a lot of people on that day are guys that maybe you don't know about or maybe you've heard about, but they haven't played a lot of ball. Caden Curry played a lot in the backup role. I don't believe he started one game as a Buckeye. Kenyatta Jackson Jr., same scenario. You might see an Eli Lee out there making some plays, or let's just say Fahim Delane does a lot of things this offseason to thrust himself out there to be on the field in key scenarios. Whatever the case may be, Ohio State has a lot of guys on the team that are ready to reload, not rebuild. But also, you also got guys on the recruiting trail that are watching Ohio State right now. Official visit season is right around the corner. And we'll see Ohio State welcome in a lot of 3-star, 4-star, 5-star talents. A lot of guys that are top 50 recruits in the country that are going to come into Ohio State, and they're going to see that Ohio State is different. I've told this story before or referenced this, but this is a perfect time to reference it again. Jason Witten's son is one of the top recruits in the country. I believe he lives down there in Texas, and he is one that has been going around on unofficial visits to various schools. LSU, just name his schools. I don't know if he's been at all these schools. LSU, Oklahoma, Texas, maybe a Texas Tech, USC, UCLA. He's going to the schools that have big boy brands, recognizable brands. Maybe an A&M, maybe a Georgia. He's going to those kinds of schools. And so when you're going to those kinds of schools, yes, there's something that separates LSU from Georgia. There's something that separates Georgia from USC. So there's something that separates USC from Oregon. But Jason Witten made a comment about how Ryan Day runs things and how Ryan Day orchestrates things in practice and about how Ohio State was different. Now, a lot of our conversation over the next few weeks and months are going to be about differences that Ohio State has that are going to show up in the big ways on the field in the fall. But when a guy that is was a long time NFL player, when his son's going around and dad is seeing what his son is seeing, and dad is saying, hey man, there's something different about Ohio State. And it's a good different, not a bad different. That goes into not only why Ohio State attracts top recruits, but why Ohio State is expected to not take massive steps back, but to stay at that same level or maybe go even better. Now, the defense last year was number one in the country in numerous statistical categories. I'm not going to say Ohio State is going to have the best rush defense or pass defense or scoring defense or things of that nature. I'm not going that far. But if you have a top 5 defense in numerous statistical categories in back-to-back years, you're doing something correct. And that goes into what Ryan Day has been doing. Ryan Day is a coach that's under the spotlight in a way that most coaches aren't. Jim Tressel wasn't under a spotlight like this. Urban Meyer wasn't under a spotlight like this. Man, want to say, Jay, it's Ohio State that's under a spotlight. Social media is different than it's ever been. There are more outlets covering college football than there have ever been. There are more people like you and I that talk Buckeye football on a regular basis than there's ever been. There are so many different things about what's going on right now in the sport of college football that make Ryan Day's job very, very difficult. Urban and Tressel and Cooper and Bruce, none of those coaches had to deal with the NIL that we have to deal with now. Now, there were payments. I'm not saying who made payments or the amount. I'm not saying that. But I know for a fact in college football, there has been money handed that wasn't NIL-based money for decades. But this is different. I mean, Kirk Cignetti at Indiana, I'm not going to say if he's right, wrong, or really share my whole thoughts about that at the moment, but he's out here saying, oh, there's certain schools out there that have $35 to $40 million rosters, and that's a problem. That's a large number. Last year was, 20 million? One school spent $23 million on the roster just for last season. If it's doubled after winning the national championship, maybe. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying Ryan Day is dealing with stuff that most coaches don't have to deal with while dealing with all of the different things that are going on right now in the sport that make his job very, very difficult. We are seeing Ryan Day put together a roster that is going to be solid and well-rounded on both sides of the field. The Buckeyes lost a lot of top-end talent to the NFL, but you know what? They're still different. The Buckeyes are built different, and that goes into why Ohio State isn't rebuilding after winning a national championship. Them Buckeyes are reloading. Speaking of reloading, there are some strengths and weaknesses that Ohio State currently has. And some of those weaknesses could turn into strengths in the upcoming season. This episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your pair controller, subscribe, or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With Wi-Fi 6/6E and auto low latency mode advanced technology, Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning-fast speeds you need to stay competitive. With 4K streaming, Watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribe services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. This episode is also brought to you by Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build, and practicing every detail to get the best results. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier. At Epicor, the All-Stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. Seeing your whole supply chain is easier. Managing logistics is easier. Responding to price changes is easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global vision, we'll equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most of every hard-working minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier takes the lead. Discover your success at www.easierwithepicor.com. That's www.easierwithepicor.com. Thank y'all for tapping Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Ohio State is fortunate to have Ryan Day as a head coach right now because there are a lot of teams around the country that would love to have Mr. Day as their head football coach. Ryan Day is entering year 7 at Ohio State. He has done a lot of things correct. There are some things that he still needs to work on. We'll talk about those throughout the offseason. But one thing Ryan Day does very, very well is set himself up for success after numerous players go off to the NFL draft. Think about it. Has Ohio State really been in a horrible situation at quarterback? When I say horrible, I mean, look at what Michigan had last year. That's what I mean when I say horrible. No. Kyle McCord. Did he go 11-1? The number in my head of the record that year is not correct, not embedded in my head. But at worst, Kyle McCord was 10-2 as a regular season quarterback. So all of the gripe, all of the complaints about Kyle McCord, what did Ryan Day do? After C.J. Stroud, Kyle McCord was there. Kyle McCord won the job. It was a weird quarterback battle that I think Ryan Day does not think he handled correctly. But Kyle McCord wasn't atrocious. Kyle McCord in year 2 last year would have been a really good quarterback in Ryan Day's offense. Ryan Day sets himself up for success when guys are gone. Justin Fields to Stroud. Stroud to McCord. McCord to Howard. Howard to Sand. I'm just going to throw out there once again. I think Sand's going to win the job. Those quarterbacks are different. They've had their ups. They've had their struggles. But at the end of the day, the ones that have started previously had a lot of success at Ohio State. And that's what I expect from Ohio State this year. While you are losing Tuimoloau and Sawyer and Hamilton and Williams and oh my goodness, you're losing Lathan Ransom and Denzel Burke and Cody Simon. You're losing a lot of guys from that defense. Let's go to offense. Will Howard, Trevion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, Josh Fryer, Josh Simmons, Donovan Jackson, Seth McLaughlin, Emeka Buka. Losing a lot of guys, man. And a lot of teams out there will see these losses and realize we lost y'all, but we don't have guys out there to take your place. And I think actually right now Ohio State is more well-rounded last year on offense than they were last year. Excuse me, let me say that again. May have said it incorrectly. I think Ohio State is currently more well-rounded on offense than they were last year. Because if you look at the offense right now at Ohio State, yeah, you have an inexperienced quarterback. Okay, but also what happened last year? Well, Will Howard wasn't inexperienced. He did not have a track record of success throwing the football that you need to be successful in Ohio State's offense. He didn't. He showed that last year, though. But quarterback play, you're going to get some good things. A lot of good things for the quarterbacks this year. Running backs. Yeah, Henderson and Judkins, great. Peoples and Donaldson, that's a 1-2 punch that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. You lose Emeka Buka, who gets more touches and gets more targets? Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis. I'm cool with that. Okay, you lose. You don't really lose a tight end. You gain. Well, you lose G. Scott Jr., but you replace it with someone better. Max Clare is easily better than G. Scott Jr. G. Scott played a big role. He was a leader. He was a locker room guy. He did a lot of great things, but Max Clare is better on defense. I'm not going to sit up here and be naive and stupid and say that the upcoming starting D-line is going to be better than last year's D-line. I'm not going to say that at all, because what we know about last year's unit was that those guys played a lot of ball. Come on, 3 and 4 and 5 years guys, and guys that have had scars, guys that have been playing a lot of ball. I'm not going to be that guy to say that the upcoming starting D-line is going to be better than last year's. Based off what? That's what I would ask someone that makes the type of statement. But overall, you're not taking massive steps down. Yeah, you're taking a step down because of the level of talent and experience you're losing. But overall, both sides of the ball are well prepared for what's to come in the fall. Now, the one weakness, or one of the weaknesses, you got new coaches. And that's not really a knock on them. They've earned the right to be at Ohio State right now. New offensive play caller, new offensive coordinator, got a co-coordinator on offense, got a co-coordinator on defense, got a new D coordinator, a D coordinator that hasn't been in college football in over 20 years. You got a new O-line coach who's coaching O-line for the first time in his career. That's a big jump. Okay, let's go to defense. James Laurinaitis, still there. That's a solid thing. That's not a negative. That's a positive. But Tim Walton, co-D coordinator. Matt Guerreri is getting a different title added to his resume. Y'all know my thoughts. Every day have heard me talk about might share my thoughts about Ohio State using co-coordinators. I've not liked it. I've never liked it. It's very similar to using a 2-quarterback system. Not a fan. I've never been a fan. I hope it doesn't happen consistently at all. I know what's happening now with co-coordinator on offense and co-coordinators on defense. Talking about a weakness. If you got a decision to make, and you and your wife are making a decision for the family, maybe where you're going to move, maybe a school that you want to send your kid to, whatever the case may be, you guys have a very big decision to make. Now, you want to get some feedback from the people around you, maybe the parents or the in-laws, things of that nature, some of your friends, and you start sharing your thoughts and sharing your opinions about certain things with people in your inner circle. And the next thing you know, you're getting unsolicited advice from this person and unsolicited advice from that person, and you're overwhelmed with the amount of voices that are in your head speaking their own thoughts and opinions about something when you wanted some advice, but also you wanted some advice from a lot of people where they wanted to share your advice as if you were only getting advice from them. No, that's not the case. At the time when you try to make that decision, you're hearing your spouse's opinion, or maybe your boyfriend or girlfriend's opinion, and maybe your kid's old enough to share their opinion. You're sitting here like, man, what I thought was going to be an adult decision, I now have so many other, like a small amount of people in the decision. I have so many people in my head discussing things that I didn't want them to say. I don't really care about their opinion now, but those voices are in your head and you can't take them out. Very similar to an offense or defense that has co-coordinators. You're not just having one decision maker or two decision makers being the coordinator and the head coach. Now you got co-coordinators and the head coach. While there is a offensive coordinator, a co-coordinator, then the head coach, there's still three people, three titles I just mentioned, which is three people, three brains, three opinions, three thoughts. That could be a disaster. Every time I hear about co-coordinators, I flash back to 2015 because that team was good enough to win a national championship. Unfortunately, I believe 100% that the co-coordinator situation on offense is a big reason why the offense played the way it did against Michigan State. And as I got to hear, for an unfortunate reason, the kicker from Michigan State that day that did the celebration, I want to take it out of my brain, but I cannot. I think the co-coordinators that year messed things up. I ain't going to point one finger to one coach and not at the other. I think it was two coordinators, it's not good. To me, it's a weakness right now. Not Buckeyes may be able to overcome that, but right now, y'all, it's a weakness. The Buckeyes are not reloading, are not rebuilding, they're reloading. They got strengths and weaknesses, and all that makes me wonder if the Buckeyes have championship potential on the team. We'll dive into that next. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now, I budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Thank y'all for tapping the Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. The Buckeyes are reloading, not rebuilding. They're not expected to take a massive drop off from last year's talent and last year's production to this year's talent and this year's production. And it makes me wonder, do the Ohio State Buckeyes in 2025 have championship potential written about them all offseason? The obvious answer is yes. 100%. Ohio State definitely has championship potential. You have a pedigree with the coach that has done a lot of things right, that has a national championship on his resume. You have a lot of talent. While it's not proven talent as being consistent starters, it is talent that everyone has been just waiting their turn, not going somewhere else, ready to hop on the first opportunity that they have to take advantage of the playing time at Ohio State. And if I am Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson Jr., Caden McDonald, or others, I am ready to just shut up all the doubters right now with my play. Now, with my words, no. Shut them up with my play, because that's the only way to do it. Not the only way, that's the best way to do it. I will tell a story here in a second about why that is the best way to do it. But of course, there's championship potential. I wouldn't say that about South Carolina. They got a really good quarterback. I ain't saying they got championship potential. I ain't saying that about Oregon. They got a lot of talent. I ain't saying that about USC. Well, Oregon, maybe. Not saying about USC. I think they have a lot of talent. I don't think it's championship potential as far as national championship. If you think a conference championship, yes, USC can finagle their way in, have a lot of things go right, have a lot of things go wrong for other teams. The next thing you know, wow, they're right there in Indianapolis playing in the Big Ten Championship. Oh, side note, you will hear me on this show share some strong opinions if the Big Ten Championship game is moved from Lucas Oil Stadium and goes to Vegas or goes to LA or goes to fill in the blank city that is near even Vegas isn't near the Big Ten. No. Big Ten footprint, excuse me. At least Indianapolis is in a state with two Big Ten teams. There ain't no Big Ten team in Nevada. Not at all. LA, I would understand it. I wouldn't agree with it, but I would understand it. Do you think they'll go to the Pacific Northwest? It's possible. I mean, the Seahawks have a really nice stadium. It's possible. But Indianapolis, not only a great location for the Big Ten, going from coast to coast, but it also is the perfect city to host big events like this. Cleveland, maybe down the road, not saying now, but Indianapolis does have the retractable roof, which is perfect for a game that is played the first Saturday in December. I wouldn't be happy about it. A lot of Buckeye fans that travel to Indianapolis and make that an annual trip wouldn't be happy about it either. But I have a feeling it's going to happen at some point in time. I also have a feeling that there's going to be a time that Ohio State is pushed to do things out of character to show their opponent that they have what it takes to win a national championship. Get a little physical, get a little mouthy. No, you show you have championship potential with your play, and no other way is a way to do that. Recently, I was at a basketball game on Sunday, this past Sunday. My wife was there, my son was there. Normally, the schedule for this particular team that we go watch doesn't fit the schedule of my son's bedtime if they play a night game and my wife's work schedule. So this time it actually worked out that there were some tickets I got from my parents. My parents couldn't go. My dad said Pacers basketball over everything else, and I get it. And sorry, I know, sorry, it's a sad comment for a lot of Cavs fans right now. There's a lot of you are Cavs fans, but I'm a Pacers fan. Not gonna shy away from it. Game 3 is tonight. I look forward to it. Y'all might hate Tyrese Halliburton. I don't. Anyways, during that game that my wife and I went to with my son, got a little chippy. Really chippy. To the point that during a game, one of the guys that I know made a comment to one of the guys on the other team, and I was hoping it didn't spill out and it didn't do the unfortunate circumstances that happened at the end of the game weren't going to happen, but tension was high. The home team that we went to watch was losing. And the next thing you know, homie wasn't trying to show that he had a championship mindset or that he was a superior player with his play. He took matters into his own hands. Now, that's what I've been heard. I don't know exactly what's the real story is because it's he say, she say. No one has it on video, so it's not really – no one's really come forth and say, yeah, this is exactly what happened. But that was an unfortunate situation because somebody got under somebody else's skin. Somebody wanted to prove they were tougher, wanted to prove they were this or that or the third. Next thing you know, 2 guys are suspended. Don't do that. Because in any given game, you've played sports and I've played sports, and maybe if you haven't played sports, you know how sports work, that trash talk is a thing. When I play pickup basketball, I talk trash. I'm not the best basketball player. I will never say that. I know my strengths and all my weaknesses. I got more weaknesses than strengths, but I also know how to talk. And I can know how to get under somebody's skin. I find that one word or that one topic that annoyed you, and homie, I am pushing you over and over and over again to try to get under your skin. And you know, in college football, these are big, massive human beings that are strong, that work out sometimes 2 times a day, maybe 3 times a day if their schedule allows them to. All that adrenaline pumping, you know that sometimes when somebody pushes your buttons, you try to do things that you should not do to prove to them you're tough. No, let your play do that. And that's the only way Ohio State can prove people like me that believe this team has championship potential is by their play. Not just week 1 against Texas. Don't have a massive drop off against Grambling State the following week. No. Week after week after week, and even in the bye weeks in the upcoming season, you must show everybody and their mama that you have a championship mindset and you have championship level players, you have championship coaches. You do it with your play and no other way. Show everybody and their mama that you are a championship minded team with the talent, with the mindset, with the coaching, with the play style. You do that with your play. And we may be here talking at the middle of next January, talking about Ohio State doing something they've never done in the history of this great university. Won back-to-back national championships. It can happen, trust me. It's going to be tough. X already marks the spot. Ohio State is already a wanted team. There are a lot of people out there that want to come after Ohio State's head every single year. Well, they'll be coming for you even harder because the Buckeyes won the national championship last year. But the best way to shut them up is by your play. Superior play is one of those things you can't go against. If you try to go against it, just watch the film because the film doesn't lie. Thank you all for tapping Locked On Buckeyes right here on a Feel Good Friday and making this show your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the portal. My guy, Brian Smith, has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the portal and find Locked On Buckeyes on the YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. It's been Locked On Buckeyes right here on a Friday. We'll see you next time.